everybody. Welcome back to We Are the Batman. My name is Mike.
And this is Matthew.
Today we are answering your questions that you have sent in to us. Matt, how can they send us questions if they want to ask us things?
There's two different ways. Usually I, in my old podcast group, Fanboy Junction, I'll put up a link or a comment that says, hey, put your questions here. And then there's also a link to our We Are the Batman website that you can go and send in questions at any time you like.
Yeah.
You know, so
At
if
that
anytime,
link,
oh, sorry.
Sorry.
At the link, anytime you want to ask questions, whether we're awake or not, you throw them in there and we will get to them eventually and respond.
And we will at that link. You can also send in episode suggestions if you guys have any feedback for us. I mean, it's kind of just a one place for you to go and have your voice heard on the show. We always want to hear from you guys. We never don't want to hear from you. And so, with that being said, before we get into these questions, how you doing, Matt?
I'm doing good. We're settling in. There's some I would say personal challenges. That sounds always vague and cheesy, but we've got a new living situation that we're dealing with, and it's been interesting, but ultimately, it's a first world problem. You know what I mean? Like, oh no, our rent went up. So sad. So, but all in all, it's not too bad.
It's always a struggle when real life decides like you're having too much fun. So we need to temper your expectations here, sir. Yeah, I get it. It's been busy for me. I've been going up on stage a lot more. I've got a very big show coming up at the end of the month. So trying to divide my time between this show, the other shows.
Yeah, the really positive thing that's been going on in my life is I got hired for 2 writing gigs. One I can't discuss, but the other one is for Grok Universe Comics. It's kind of leans more towards a Christian base, but just, if you pray to Jesus before you go defeat all the bad guys. and that's been a lot of fun, but that's probably one of the more exciting things. Do what?
So somebody has to. Daredevil does.
There you go. See? So yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and it's always, as a writer, some of the hardest things to do is create a world and then write characters in it. So when somebody's already created a world and they're like, "Hey, can you get these guys and make them do stuff?" Like, yes, that's easy. I can do that.
Whatever you say, whatever you need, boss, whatever you say, whatever you need. So let's go ahead and get to some quick news that dropped. It's not so much news as it is just kind of fun revelations. Barry Keoghan, who played the uncredited role, well, not uncredited, but unnamed role of the Joker in the Batman, both in the end scene as well as in a deleted scene that was awesome, apparently got the part after he submitted an unsolicited audition tape for the Riddler before the role was even cast. They were out looking for people to play the part, and he just recorded this video on his own at like a hotel and sent it in. And they hadn't asked him to do it, but he was like, "I'm going to do it anyway." And if you haven't seen the video, it's on Twitter. We'll put it up on our Twitter at We Are the Batman, and you can see this. And it is just dorky and wonderful, but he got passed up for the role. The role went to Jonah Hill. Then it went to Paul Dano. And after all that was said and done, they reached out to Barry and said, "Hey, we might have something else for you." But in the quote, it literally says, "You cannot tell anyone."
Yeah. I think I saw that video.
It's I mean, because he's walking around in a bowler hat with the cane, and he's like, it's fun. He was just having fun because he was like, screw it, I'm gonna see what I can make happen here. And you know what, he made something happen, that's for sure.
This is one of those times where, like, sometimes I think I can remember who it was that was talking about, like, they moved to LA and they just sat around waiting for things to happen. And then, after a couple months, we're like, no, I have to make things happen. So the fact that he just one day was like, you know what? I know there's probably a Batman movie coming. I'm going to try and be Riddler. And he just put it out there. I mean, why not? It doesn't cost you any money. Just time.
Yeah, odds are, because Barry Keoghan's kind of a weird dude, so odds are he already had that cane and hat in his closet somewhere and was just waiting for a reason to crack it out.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
So I thought that was funny. Again, head over to our Twitter and we'll have that posted there as retweeted there, as well as the articles you can read. It's a fun story. But let's get into some of these questions that we've been sent by you, the listeners, and we'll see what we can come up with. We have not read these yet. We have not pre-written any answers, so we're gonna answer these fresh. Matt, I believe you have one from the Fanboy Junction Facebook group. We're gonna hit it first.
Yes, this comes from Victor Di Giovanni. And he said, is there too much Batman right now? And he has a lot to say, but he mentions canceling Batgirl, the new Batman cartoon, Batwoman. His whole point more is that there's just so much things going on with Batman, with movies, Joker 2, Ben Affleck and or Michael Keaton appearing in Aquaman or Flashpoint. You got Batman sidekicks and Batman Teen Titans. You got that stupid Gotham Knights thing. There's the games. He's like, does Batman need to lie totally follow for a while to make it special again? And I think what he's saying is we are inundated with so much Batman and Batman family content that now nothing's interesting and nothing's special. Is that a concern? Should they pull back on it? What are your thoughts, Mike?
So I saw an article on Twitter recently that was talking about the current comic books in production from DC, and they were almost all Bat titles. And on the one hand, yes, I can understand how from an outside point of view you would think, oh, all they care about is Batman. But these are businessmen at the end of the day, and they see things in terms of nickels and dimes. So, and with the way Warner Brothers in general has been focusing on things lately, it's all about the bottom line. So it sounds to me like they're focusing on what's selling. They're focusing on what's making them money. The other stuff's just not making them money. It's not pulling it in. So like with any entertainment medium, my response is, if you want your voice heard, if you want people to pay attention, do it with your dollars. If you want more Wonder Woman content, go pay for Wonder Woman content. Go buy Wonder Woman comics. If you want these shows and movies to take a step back, don't watch them. Don't go see them. The reason that they keep making these god-awful Transformers movies is because they keep making $1 billion. We're going to get a Morbius 2 because everyone went to go see it, ironically. Which led them to think, oh, well, they must love the movie. Let's re-release it. And then it made like $100,000. So you pay with, you vote with your dollars in this case. So is there a lot of Batman and Batman adjacent content? I mean, yeah, sure. But it's because Batman's awesome. That's part of it. And he's popular. He sells. He absolutely sells. So it's not that they're only putting all their chips in Batman because he's the only one they care about. It's because he's the only one that anybody's wallets are telling them they care about. So, go see, if you really want to see other stuff, go see Black Adam when it comes out. That's a DC property that's got nothing to do with Batman. Go see it. Whether or not, if you really want it, go see it. It all comes down to us. We tell them what we want them to release with what we watch and what we pay for.
Correct. And I think this also goes to the thing, in my opinion, of like, if it's good, it's not oversaturated. Look at the Marvel universe, pre Endgame. First, it was one movie every year. Then it was 2 movies a year. Then it was 3 movies a year. And we just kept going and going and going. And we love superheroes. Yeah, it wasn't technically the same one over and over again, but it was a lot of the same guys. So I think what happens that is, if it's successful, it's good, it's entertaining, people go see it. You're making money, do it. Hey, was Batgirl good? Possibly it wasn't. That's why they canned it. But the Batman was amazing. And if you had told me I was going to be hyped for a Batman movie after seeing Batman versus Superman at Justice League, I was like, there's no way. Just no. I don't know if I want to see Ben Affleck as Batman. But again, if it's good, if it's interesting, if it's a new take or something different, people are going to go see it. If it's Beware the Batman the cartoon, it's not going to get renewed because it's crap. If it's beyond Batman Brave and the Bold, or it caters to that early morning Saturday morning cartoon like the Batman from 2003, or it's amazing like Batman the Animated Series, people are going to watch it. People are going to love it, and it's not going to inundate anybody.
Yeah, we said when we did our episode talking about casting for Batman Beyond, a movie for Batman Beyond, we always said it's never a bad idea to add talent to something. And so as long as what's being distributed to us is good and people like it and it's got talented people behind it and it's making money, it's gonna keep being a thing. That's why there's always this push for another new Batman movie, and people get excited about it because that's what they want to see. People were all in for Wonder Woman. The first Wonder Woman movie made over $1 billion. The second one just wasn't very good. People didn't like it. So it didn't, and all, I mean, there was a pandemic as well that kind of contributed to that movie not succeeding as well, but also just wasn't a good movie. People will go see things they like. So put 100% of your time and effort into something. Like, to the filmmakers and the creators of these shows and these movies, I would just say, just make sure that what you're putting out is your best. Like, don't half-ass something. And if you're someone who thinks there's too much of a particular thing and you want more of something else, vote with your dollars. Go to the comic book store, buy, if you want to see more Wonder Woman, go buy a shitload more Wonder Woman comics. This is the age of social media and soapbox for something. Like, encourage people to go do something. I think when we think about soapboxing and trying to tell people to stop doing something, well, you know what, instead encourage people to go do something. Encourage them to go buy more Wonder Woman stuff or buy more, Batgirl or I mean, Batgirl's Batman adjacent, but whatever it is you want to see more of, just go, or start a podcast. Look, everyone's got a freaking podcast nowadays. If you want more stuff from a property you want, then start a podcast, build a community, build this, build this, this community for saying you want. There's ways to do it, but yeah, it's not Batman's fault that everybody likes Batman. Okay. And DC and Warner Brothers looking at it like he's going to make us money. So that's what we're going to put out.
Yeah, exactly. Always go forward with your cash cow.
Yeah, it's called that for a reason. All right. So I think we've answered Victor's question. I hope we answered Victor's question. If we haven't answered your question, Victor, please by all means submit it again in the Fanboy Junction group or follow the link in our podcast episode, and we'd be happy to give it another shot. Let's go to a question from Ariel. I'm going to butcher this last name. Cisney?
Cisney, yes. Cisney.
Okay. Oh, cool.
If you want to get into
Cisney?
the Latino of it all.
I was close. I was close. All right. So the first question we have is from Ariel, which is, we often mention Batman the Animated Series as the best Batman show. What is our favorite episode? Matt, I'm gonna let you take the lead on this one.
My favorite episode, man, I think we talked about it the last time, but it's Almost Got Him. I think Almost Got Him is definitely my favorite of that series. If you get into what is technically the Batman cartoon, because it does kind of reboot itself that last season, which can arguably either be the third season or the fourth season. But yeah, I think that episode is my favorite just because it has a really different storyline as far as like telling each villain talk about how they almost killed him, and then there's a surprise twist at the end. But I also have to admit that anytime Nightwing takes center stage in that last season of the show, any of those episodes are going to be my favorite just because they're awesome. And like, Nightwing's cool, and as much as I didn't like the mullet, I really liked his outfit in that show. So that one as well. But I mean, so many of those are amazing. And I just kind of like rewatching them now. Yeah, the animation kind of drops off a little bit later on in the series, but the storylines are always cool. And then there's also that ninja guy who shows up every so often. I liked when he was in the show as well. What's your favorite episode?
It's hard to not pick Almost Got Him because it is so freaking good. But we just had the anniversary of this one episode, and it's one I go back to a lot. It's one that I think really helped shape one of my favorite characters of all time, and that's got to be Heart of Ice.
Yeah.
We had the anniversary of it on September 7th, and it's the it's the first appearance of Mr. Freeze on the show, and it's the first time that we see this show take a character and do something with it so different, but so iconic that it changes how this character is approached for the rest of time. Because
Yeah.
prior to this episode, Mr. Freeze was just he had gone by like 4 different names and he was just a jewel thief. He was just a joke. He wasn't there to be anything serious. And this one introduced the idea of the wife and this kind of like accidental villain motivation. That's we think about that as the Mr. Freeze backstory. It wasn't until the animated series was created that this backstory was created. Michael Ansara as the voice of Mr. Freeze is like all I ever hear. When I think Mr. Freeze's voice, that's the voice I judge it against for all time. Whether
Yep.
it's the Arkham games or, Schwarzenegger doing whatever he's doing or anything, even, whether it was Clancy Brown in the Batman animated show, it all is just a cheap imitation in my mind of how good Michael Ansara was as Mr. Freeze, and he's so good. I mean, this episode won a Daytime Emmy Award for best writing in an animated program. So it's so well written, and it's such a great. I mean, there's that line he says where he's like, to feel a warm breeze on my face, like, oh yes, I would, to be able to hold the hand of the woman I love, yes, I would kill for that. Like that is such good good writing.
Yeah.
What's messed up is that episode was when it was eventually re-aired on Toon Disney several years later, they edited the crap out of it. There's a couple times where like Batman says like, "Oh my god," and the Mr. Freeze, I'd kill for that line. Toon Disney edited that out.
Ooh.
Yeah, Bruce Timm said that he didn't even notice it until like years later, and he was obviously upset because that's what won them the Emmy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's a beautiful episode. If you've never watched the animated series or you maybe didn't know that about Mr. Freeze, it's on HBO Max. Go watch that episode in particular, or just the whole show. I mean, watch the whole show because the whole show's great. But yeah, Heart of Ice is one that always just kind of lives rent free in my head.
Fair enough. Fair enough. What's our next question, brother?
Our next question is: which episode of Batman the Animated Series would you suggest for someone that is new to Batman to watch first? Well, I mean, we kind of
Honestly, no. I think I would. Well, maybe almost got him because it introduces so many villains.
yeah.
You know which one I think would be a nice step in is the Gray Ghost, because you get
Oh, yeah.
the warmth of Adam West being there, the idea of almost moderately getting into part of Batman's origin. It's a little more grounded with the villain because it's more mechanics, not crazy psychosis. And it's just like that. I think there's just something great. And warm is such a weird term to use for it, but it is. It's a nice thing that anybody can relate to. You know, meeting your hero, something happens wrong with your hero, you want to help your hero, then you're not sure what's actually happening.
I'm actually going to go down the route. I like where you're going with that. I'm going to go down the route of I think they should watch parts 1 and 2 of Robin's Reckoning because you get so much backstory and origin story with Batman and Robin in that episode. And you really understand their relationship and where things are at with the duo for the show in those episodes.
Yeah.
I think you get a lot of exploration of why Robin is Robin, how they came to become partners. You see some early days of Batman stuff in there. It's a great way to introduce kind of the world we're living in, the two heroes that we're following in this show, even though Robin's Reckoning is into like season 2, I think. I could be wrong, but
It's if it's in the first season, it's later in the first season.
It is, yeah. It's episode Robin's Reckoning part 1 is very late into season 1. Um, but the beauty of watching stuff online is you can watch it out of order. But I think if you're going to get into the show for the first time, or even into Batman and Robin for the first time, I would start with Robin's Reckoning. But Almost Got Him's a good one, and also because, like you said, like he introduced to so many different characters all at once as well.
Yeah. Well, and the beauty of that show, honestly, is that there's only maybe 3 or 4 episodes that build on top of each other if they're not like 1 or 2 parters. So you could literally grab any episode and watch it, and you're not out of order. There's not some overarching storyline throughout any of it. So,
It's true. Yeah.
like you're saying, you could pick and choose and go through and watch. Let me watch these 6 in whatever order, and it's not going to mess anything up.
Yeah, the only time there's ever any kind of carryover story is anything with Catwoman or Ra's al Ghul. Those are pretty much the only times there's like real carryover. Everything else is pretty episodic, which again is kind of the beauty of it. If you want just something kind of fun and again Saturday morning cartoon of to ease your way into Batman, that would be where I would. I mean, honestly, the animated series. Where should you start with getting into Batman? The animated series, plain and
Yeah.
simple.
I like it.
All right. So our next question then is: some of the most famous comic arcs have been animated. Let me try it again. Some of the most famous comic arts. Jesus. Okay. Some of the most famous comic arcs have had animated adaptations. Are there any you would still like to see? I'm gonna let you go first on this one.
I mean, I think anybody who's listened to me at all knows that the Cult, Batman the Cult, is, well, that's more of a graphic novel, but that's a storyline I would love to see animated. Um, I would love to see. I mean, it's kind of weird because Robin's Reckoning is essentially year 3 of the Batman comic, where they tell Robin's storyline. But I mean, I would almost like to see them do. I'm taking this as you want like a direct DVD release of making of it, and I would love to see that storyline because it's just a cool story. And there's the Robin's Reckoning, they played with it and they don't get as into some of the other things of the current timeline, what's happening. But then it's also weird because in year 3, Dick Grayson is already Nightwing. He's not Robin anymore. So there's a different dynamic in that relationship. But I think that would be a cool thing to tell because that was the big thing when I watched Robin's Reckoning. Like, it was really cool, but the relationship between Batman and Dick Grayson is so different in the cartoon because he's still Robin at the time that there's a lot of things that happen in the original comic that I would love to see because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it's been a long time since I've seen Robin's Reckoning, is the beginning of the storyline in the comic is that Zuko gets gunned down by other criminals and Dick Grayson.
Oh, the show's different because in the show he's still alive, and
Yeah.
that's Robin's basically gonna trying to go kill him, and
Yeah.
Batman's trying to stop him.
Yeah. So in this, it's more like, did you know this was going to happen? Because Batman takes Nightwing to his release,
Mhm.
so they can do like the intimidation thing, and he gets killed. He gets just gunned down right as he walks out of jail. And Dick Grayson's like, "Did you know that was going to happen? Is that why you brought me here?" And there's like, because at the time there was such a distrust between them. I would love to see that era of Batman, which I think has never been in any kind of animation. That era where they truly do not like each other.
Yeah. Not
But
really. Honestly, I think the one that did that the most was Brave and the Bold,
yes,
when Robin is just Robin as a solo hero over in Bloodhaven, and Batman shows up, and he's just like, "I don't want you here."
yeah. But there's also so much backstory you would have to tell. You'd have to do like a flashback intro to get into that. But I think that would be one I would love to see. Not so much year 2. That one was kind of silly.
Yeah, I
Even
get
though
what
it
you
has a
mean.
great cover. Batman Year 2 has one of the best covers ever, and it's the first time you ever see Batman with a gun. So that drawing of Batman, and he has like a shoulder holster and he's holding up a gun drawn by Alan Davis, that's from Batman Year 2.
Okay, I gotcha.
What about you? You got
Um,
one?
I've got kind of a controversial question answer to this question. I think they should stop making the adaptation animated movies because they're. And here's the thing: I've been the champion of these things for years. I really have, but the last few they've done have been utter dog shit. I mean, the last few they've done have been very, very bad. Injustice broke me. The Injustice animated movie broke me. It was so bad. It was like it made me violently angry. I wanted to go punch things after watching that. It was
Yeah.
so bad. The Hush animated movie was abysmal. It was abysmal. It was terrible. Um, I thought that Apocalypse War was okay at best. Um,
Oh,
you
that was
know,
dumb as crap.
yeah, it was okay at best. You know, the all and also there. And this might be also because some of my personal stuff coming through, but they're also focused on freaking Damian Wayne. Oh my God, stop! Nobody likes Damian Wayne. Because you get Son of the Batman, then Batman versus Robin, then Batman Bad Blood, then Justice League versus the Teen Titans, and Teen Titans the Judas Contract. They're all focused on Damian Wayne. Nobody likes Damian Wayne. Justice League Dark was okay. I mean, the best part about that was Matt Ryan as Constantine. Because at the end of the day, that wasn't really Justice League Dark. That was Batman featuring a couple of magic users. And again, I love Batman. This is a Batman podcast. That wasn't Justice League Dark. Justice League Dark Apocalypse War was pointless because Constantine just has Flash go back and reset everything at the end. Oh, okay. So who cares now? The Death of Superman and Reign of the Superman 2-parter wasn't bad. It was kind of weird to see the Death of the Superman one because we'd already had Batman
story,
Superman. The Apocalypse one had already been done, or not Apocalypse. Doomsday. We'd already had the Doomsday one done a few years prior. So it was interesting to see them do that again, but this was told differently. It was a bit more comic accurate because we get part 2 with Reign of the Superman. But for the most part, these have all been just absolutely terrible. I mean, the Batman and Harley Quinn one was almost unwatchable. It was terrible. And I got what they were going for, but it just wasn't good. It was very bad.
What was that called? The Last Laugh? The Killing Joke. The Killing Joke was trash.
I have such mixed feelings on the Killing Joke because like the part of the movie that is actually the Killing Joke is fine. It's fine. It's a literal frame by frame adaptation of the book, so it's kind of pointless, but it's fine. It's that first 45 minutes that they created to make it feature length with Batman and Batgirl doing it on a rooftop that was unwatchable. Because I got to go see a screening of that in theaters, and I remember people walking out after the Batgirl thing. They were just like, no, screw this. And I was almost one of them. Like, it was very bad. The part of it that is the Killing Joke is perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it whatsoever. I love that they got Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill back to do the voices. That was fantastic. But that 45 minutes with Batgirl, the Batgirl softcore porno at the top is not good. It's awful. So yeah, my personal opinion, stop making these because they've gone from being because they used to be incredible. They used to be fantastic. And they aren't anymore. They haven't been for a long time. Like, I think back to like Superman Batman Public Enemies was very good. The Wonder Woman they did in like 2009 was very good. The Under the Red Hood one is incredible. Justice League Doom is one of my favorites. I mean, there were so many of them. There were like 40 of them that were like very good until these recent years have just been just unwatchable, man. I even like the Long Halloween one. I will say that one's a more recent one. I thought it was pretty good, but like, you know, if I had gun to my head, if I had to pick one for them to adapt, I mean, I don't know. Give Batman Beyond another shot, I guess. I don't know. It's gonna be my go-to. I mean, because at this point they've done everything, but also I'm afraid to say one because I feel like they'd screw it up. I thought Injustice was an easy slam dunk because the 5 years of Injustice comic books that were the prequel to the video game were some of the best comic book writing of the last 15 years. That was some of the best comic book writing I have read in a very long time, and it was a prequel to a video game, and they found a way to screw it up. So I'm honestly afraid to say anything. Maybe I don't know, the Trenchcoat Brigade.
Well,
Um,
yeah, and I think too the problem now is that like literally in the last 10 years, DC has rebooted their universe twice, maybe arguably three different times. So
yeah,
like I was saying earlier, like I don't even know if Batman Year 3 is canon.
who
So
knows?
why would they go back and redo and do a storyline that's not canon anymore? You know, there's so many of these great storylines I can remember from before. Like there was one, it was like a two-parter Batman, and it was like Batman trying to hunt down this serial killer.
Yeah,
And he just couldn't catch the guy in the act. He couldn't get proof, but everybody knew he did it. And then like one of the victims' sisters at the end slices the guy's throat, and Batman and Robin capture her and take her to the cops. And they're like, "What are we gonna do? Like, what? You know, you've got to go down." And she's like, "Yeah, find a jury that's going to convict me." And Robin and Batman have this discussion about like, you know, she's wrong. You know,
yeah,
you can't just kill somebody knowing you're going to get away with it because you want justice for whatever. That's not what we're about. And like something like a storyline like that that really gets into some meaty stuff would be interesting, but I think that that's Jason Todd as Robin. So
yeah,
I don't know if the Robin matters, but I mean like stuff like that where you know you get into like you know why would Batman be mad at that? Well, because it's not right, you know. So that's where like
yeah.
some of the but that's the thing is like there's so many good stories that are just like not can't like I still like we were talking about Batman Prodigal, the graphic novel. I don't know if that
Mhm.
storyline's canon anymore because last I
Yeah.
checked, Tim Drake was technically never Robin. So you're just like, what the crap? What is real and what's not? So I think that's also a struggle with picking something as well because there's nothing recently that I would do.
If I had to pick something, I would say maybe JLA New World Order because that's my favorite JLA run, and I think that one would make a really good animated film. But again, I'm also not sure I want them to touch these because I don't trust them with my toys anymore. So
Fair enough.
yeah. All right. We got one more question in, and that is another one from Ariel, and that is: are there any villains you like but you would not want to see in the Robert Pattinson movies? Why? It's a very good question, actually.
Clayface. I
You
think
know, I
they've
hate you, but
ground. Yeah.
I hate you, but yeah, because I really want. I've been begging for years for a Batman Clayface horror movie that would be really good, but in Pattinson's Batman, it wouldn't work. Not a chance.
Well, and that's the thing is that the problem with Batman is he is at his best when he is grounded.
Yeah,
But once you ground him, you lose like 30-40% of his uh his rogues gallery. You know,
yeah,
you lose Maxi Zeus, you lose like I'm sorry, you lose Killer Croc. You know,
yeah.
you lose Clayface, you lose so many of these really cool villains that would make great storylines, but there's nothing in the ever of ever that's going to make you explain some dude suddenly becomes, you know, malleable and rubbery and can turn himself into anybody. You know,
Yeah.
you may get into like I think the only way you would do Clay's face is if he was some kind of amazing actor, special effects guy, and throughout the movie you never know who he really is because he's never himself.
I
That
wrote a spec script for an idea of how to do it last year before I had seen the Batman, and I still stand by that it's a good idea, but I don't think it would work with Pattinson. That's
yeah. Well, and that's the thing is like there's some of those villains that are just fantastical, you know. I mean,
yeah.
like I think I don't remember my pitch exactly, but I think the like something like oh gosh, his name is totally escaping me. The guy with the puppet,
Oh,
the
ventriloquist.
ventriloquist, like something like that is perfect
Yeah,
because it's just some schizophrenic dude, and I use that term light. I'm not using that term lightly. I mean, whatever you want to call it, multiple personality disorder, blah blah blah, whatever.
yeah,
But I think getting into that kind of stuff because look, Riddler ain't right. Like he ain't right in the head in
no,
that movie. So I
no,
think setting up this dark noir Batman, that's where you go into the Riddler. You get into, the Penguin as a gangster. You get into the ventriloquist. You maybe the Mad Hatter, depending on how you have him control people.
Mhm.
I think the influencer aspect would be a much more interesting than he has mind control powers or whatever. So I think, but like something like Clot King is something you could do. Somebody who's obsessed with time and is able to do things like
I actually
backflip
thought
out of a window and land on a train because he knows when it's coming by.
the CW Arrowverse did a take on the Claw King that I thought was actually very well done. Like I thought how they utilized him was incredible, was very good because it was one of those characters I was like, this could never work outside of an animated series or a comic book, and they found a way to make it work. Like he was just kind of this brilliant time focused strategist, and I was like, that's good, that's very good. Um, so I think Clock King could work in the Battinson world very well. Not as a main, maybe as like someone's guy in the chair for the main villain.
Yeah.
Um, Ventriloquist is an interesting idea. Ventriloquist is one that could work, but you would have to take it very carefully because that can go from being scary to silly real quick.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but so that's a good one. As far as ones I would not want to see, I I personally don't want to see one we've seen before unless they're bringing something new with it. But I really don't want to see Bane. I really don't.
Yeah.
I know we've talked about it. People online have talked about it that that thing he injects himself with which I think was nothing more than just an adrenaline shot personally. But
Yes.
people are saying, "Oh, well, it looked kind of green," and so they're thinking, "Oh, we're coming for a Bane setup," especially considering what you and I talked about on last week's show. I don't want to see Bane in the Battinson universe. I don't want that because as cool of of a villain as Bane is, especially if you keep him comic book accurate, I I don't need a revisit of we just had that not that long ago with The Dark Knight Rises. I don't need us to revisit that quite so soon. There are so many other villains that I think we haven't seen yet that I'd like to see more, and B that I think we've seen before but are past due for a redemption, like Mister
Yeah.
Freeze. I think there's a way to make Mister Freeze work in Battinson's universe, and if there's ever been a character that deserved a live action redemption, it's Mister Freeze.
Yeah. Well, and I think too is there are certain characters that only work once we've been with Batman for a while. Bane
Yeah,
is not a year 2 villain. He's
no,
not a
he's
year
not.
3 villain, a year 4 villain. Like the magic of Bane is there are I mean, depending on if you want to get into the Venom storyline, but even still, like breaking the Batman the second year out means nothing. Breaking Batman during year 10 or year 5 or year 8, that's different. And that's where I think, some of these where doing movies of a character is difficult because yes, you do want to bring in all these cool characters, but you know, hey, if I don't feel like Batman's unstoppable, it doesn't mean anything when he's stopped.
Yeah,
So
exactly. We
that's
don't feel like he's unstoppable yet. The idea
yeah.
is to break the unbreakable. That's what Banes are supposed to do. So Bane's one. If I had to pick another one, I mean, I don't know. I mean, because unfortunately for me right now, there are so many I want to see that the idea of picking one I don't want to see is tough. I am not in I know there's a lot of people that are, and I get it. I am not in the camp of we don't need another Joker. Like, no, if Batman exists, we need to have a Joker. Like that's just kind of the rules of law. Um I understand the emotion of not wanting him to be the big bad of a movie. That part I'm okay with. But if he's just kind of the Hannibal Lecter in the background, like he was in the Batman, I'm fine with that. You know,
Yeah, I'm indifferent to the Joker thing. Like, I don't mind waiting. But again, I think this is one of those like we've established he exists and he's been caught.
yeah,
So maybe a second movie
he
of
was year
him
one.
yeah, maybe a movie of him coming back and like a second or third film of him, escaping and doing whatever he does. That might be interesting. But yeah, I think yeah, the next movie definitely is Batman versus Penguin, and I think that's where it needs to be. And
See,
then
I think they're building Penguin up for movie 3.
I mean, it just depends because he's supposed to have his own show, so I guess it depends on what
Yeah.
his own show does.
I think the show is meant to be how he got to where he is in the Batman. I don't think it's a bridge between 1 and 2.
Only time will tell if it even
Yeah.
happens at this point with DC.
Who the hell knows? I mean, it's still on the slate, but who the hell knows at this point? Yeah,
Maybe they'll get 90% through and decide it's no good and tax write it off.
And they'll cast Brendan Fraser in it, and then once again pull it out from under his feet. Be nice to Brendan Fraser, Warner Brothers. Yes. Brendan Fraser is a diamond encrusted angel of hope, love, and joy. You be nice to him, okay?
Yeah. Otherwise, he might be Wonder Man.
Yikes! Ooh. Anyway, that's one I don't want to see in the Pattinson movies is Wonder Man. Wait a minute, that's Marvel. Anyway, yes. Yeah, that's all the questions that we got from you guys. We love hearing from you. We really do. We always do want to hear from you. So please hit the link in the description of this episode to go to our What We Are the Batman Google form. Send in your questions, your episode suggestions, any feedback you want to give us. We'd love to get your questions and shout you out on the show, particularly if we do pick your episode topic. We will give you credit and we will reach out to you and see if you would like to submit something for the episode. Your picture or whatever the concept might be. So please do that. Or if you're on Facebook and you're a member of the Fanboy Junction Facebook group, head over there as well. We always put up master posts looking for questions from you guys. Those come from Matthew. And this was fun. I again, you guys give us great questions and great episode topics. So thank you guys so much.
Yes, definitely. And Ariel, Victor, just keep sending them in. Anybody else out there? www.facebook.com/group/fanboyjunction with a K. If you want to look for the post, do it. If you just want to randomly put it on there, or, like Mike said, hit us up on Twitter, message me through Facebook, whatever questions you guys have or ideas you might have, throw them our way. Sometimes we sit here and go like, I don't know, what's the next episode going to be? I don't know. Let's do a Q&A.
Sometimes you get days like today where we're banking episodes away for a few weeks. Sometimes you have words like, we got nothing. We got no ideas. So we always want to get a couple from you guys. You can let us know on all those places and let us know on Twitter. You can find us on Twitter at We Are The Batman. You can find me on Twitter at Mr. Mike Shea.
You can find me at Mr. J Ninja.
We'll see you guys again next time here for another episode of We Are The Batman. Same bat time, same bat podcast channel.
Bye-bye.